Good morning, everyone. Ooh, this is loud. Hi, how are you all doing? Good? Amazing, amazing. So thank you all so much for coming today. I'm braving it in the rain. Really appreciate you coming. Today we are going to have an amazing conversation with the one and only Holly Tucker. And she is somebody who flies the flags for independence. She is a founder and entrepreneur and somebody who really brings her all, her heart, her authenticity, her passion with her everywhere she goes. Her story is absolutely incredible. So if you haven't heard it, I'm excited for us to get into it. Hello, how are you doing?
Yes, very good, thank you. Yeah, and it's nice to be here and back and seeing everybody in 3D. It's just a wonderful thing.
Amazing. And I know you're known for bringing color and energy into the room. It's very gray outside, so I feel like this is going to be a fun, colorful moment.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Amazing. So should we get started with your story? Because
Yes.
I know there might be some people who might not have heard it and are curious to hear more about you. So let's start on Not on the High Street, that kind of moment in 2006 when it all kind of, the light bulb moment.
Happened.
Yeah.
Well, I write about it in my book, but it all started with a vegetable wreath. I started work at 17 years old in advertising, and Hurricane Holly skipped through life rather quickly and ended up having a brain tumor and a divorce by the age of 23, I think I was. So what I thought I'd do is make a vegetable wreath, because that's obviously the well-known thing to do when you're trying to heal yourself. And I made a vegetable wreath and decided that I was going to make a gazillion pounds with vegetable wreaths. And all I needed to do was sell it at a fair. I lived in Chiswick and there weren't any Christmas fairs. So I thought, well, I was freelancing in publishing at the time. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make the fair. Then I get the best trestle table because it's my fair. And I'm going to sell all my wreaths and it's going to be incredible. So in my lunch break, got my brick of a Nokia phone, was making this fair happen, and I had 100 stands. I also maybe put a few pieces of free advertising in the magazines I was working in, and we had this fair, and it was great. And yes, my wreaths sold, but what was actually fascinating is the fair was electric. All the small businesses that I'd picked all were saying to me, I love being in this fair. You've really curated these amazing small businesses together. So that was fantastic. So I decided to ditch the wreath business because it was quite obvious that I wasn't going to become a gazillionaire. And I delivered all the wreaths in my Peugeot 205, over the fences. And I shut down the wreath business and created a company called Your Local Fair, which was, that was the business to be in, to create fairs. So I put on 8 fairs all over London, curating the best small businesses, and it was fantastic. But when it wasn't fantastic, it was bloody awful because, it would pour with rain, or I think I had the largest storm, ever in existence on my first fair, or Johnny's football matches on that day and no one arrived. And then obviously all the stallholders told me it was my fault that the weather was so appalling. And anyway, you can imagine the story. Yeah. So I decided that actually the fair business wasn't for me. And meanwhile, I had found my partner in life. We got married last year, actually, after 18 years. And we had a little boy called Harry. And 3 months after having Harry, I decided I couldn't give up on the electricity I found under that town hall roof. It just needed a new roof. And the new roof needed to be the internet. And so that was literally the idea. Shall we create a fair for 24 hours a day where it doesn't rain, where actually rain does really great things for sales? And that was in 2005. I called up my first boss in advertising, Sophie, and I said to her, look, I've got this idea. I'm doing this thing. I'm putting everything that's not on the high street into a website. And that wasn't the name at the time. I'm never going to repeat the crappy beta name I had. And she said yes. And then we launched April 2006. My son was 3 months old. Never to be repeated ever. That wasn't a fun stage. But it was the beginning of Not on the High Street, which is a business that I'm, very proud of.
Amazing, incredible story. And you say it really casually, like, oh, I created a fair, and then I did this, and then I did that. It's like, how did you find the confidence to actually, like, because it didn't exist before and it was something you created. How did you find the confidence to really step out and say, this is what I want to do, even though I've never done it before?
I don't know if I saw it as different things, just iterations. So, from the wreath company, I had a stall at the fair. Then I got rid of the wreaths, and then I did the fair business, and then I did the fair business, but I've just put it online. So I felt some comfort, I think. And I think that that's the journey a lot of us can go on with our businesses, that actually everything that you have today in 10 years should be completely different. And it's just the journey that you take. And I think also, a true entrepreneur is able to be completely squashed by life and get back up. That's actually one of the essences of being a founder. So I think those two combinations allowed me to, to progress.
Absolutely. And following your passion is not a smooth path at all. Like you said, being resilient and being able to bounce back when things come your way. And I think something that really helps people get through those storms is understanding their why, understanding their vision. So what was the vision that was kind of pulling you towards what you wanted to do during those dark days where, things weren't going as planned? What was that vision that was keeping you grounded in what you were doing?
I think vision is, vision, calling, purpose. Those words are your absolute central point. I would say that you don't have a long-term business unless you have it in the pit of your stomach, in your heart. For me, it was the community. To begin with, it was the community, but it was just great product, that I just wanted to shop with all the time. But over the years, it's been nearly, 17, 18 years now, I realized that when I went to sleep, the community were on my shoulders. It was my son. I would do that mental thing, how's my son? How's my husband? How's my family? How's the community? And I think that I would say has pulled me through the 20 years. So I felt a responsibility to those people to help them do what they love. And I think I'd met so many amazing souls along the way where I would literally watch someone come in, a bit unconfident, not looking at me in the eye, with a bit of product and just pushing it over the table. What do you think? And I'd be like, oh my God, it's going to be the best thing ever. It's going to sell so much at Christmas, blah, 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 blah. And then, 8 years later, there she would be coming in with her staff, looking amazing, feeling amazing, with great sales. And I had been part of that, and it was her journey. And that for me is addictive. And I think that's probably, I can say, not sounding too, I'm not going to swear. But, at 44, I think that's my calling in life, is to try and help people realize their dreams and their true selves.
Yeah, absolutely. Purpose is definitely being in the service of something bigger than yourself, because when it's all about you and it gets tough, it's so easy to give up. But when you remember your why, who's that customer, who's the end user who's really connected to what you're doing, and remember them and their stories, it really is a great way to motivate you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's not people, community, it's like it's finding your North Star. It can be the planet. There's so many things now that should be driving you beyond your utilitarian point or beyond yourself. That's something that I think nowadays doesn't sound too airy-fairy in business. Whereas, if you said that maybe 10, 20 years ago, people would be like, really? Whereas now I think business, I was just speaking to, who was I speaking to? Sir John Timpson on my podcast. It's coming out next week. And he said that actually founders are more powerful than any politician, than any group, than any charity, than anybody. Founders and entrepreneurs have the power to really change things. And I thought that was very inspiring.
I love that. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I can never say that word. And I feel like you might not, I know you say like good life company, right?
Yes.
Rather than SMEs or,
yes.
Because it's just like, it's more than just a business. It's like who
Yes.
I am. It's my energy. It's my passion. And I bring that into everything that I do. So let's go over to the success, right? Because you launched it and you were getting increasingly rapid growth and things were moving really quickly. How did you learn to sustain the brand and the mission and the purpose of the brand whilst you were going through this like rapid growth phase?
Well, it was just like a speed train with every single bolt flying off it. And all you were trying to do was hold onto the wheel and head in the right direction. I mean, it was pretty full on, and we got it wrong lots, maybe most of the time, but actually made some good moves. And I think that one of the, it's for anyone growing your team, that now, I mean, I know it's a classic thing that you say, but your team is actually where your culture and values sit. If your team can live your values and your vision, then that is almost like, because you're only one furnace and you can only do so much, but actually building a team, and it's why I do say to everybody, if you can build a team, do, because it's the most magical thing. They're the people that can drive it forward. And obviously always, again, just because I've just interviewed him, Timpson Key Cutting Service, that's who I'm talking about here. He's on the podcast next week, and he was just saying, and if the team is not right, let them go with love and let them find where they're going to be most happy. And actually that's one of the key things about growing a team, is when knowing to keep somebody and when knowing to let them go. And I think potentially myself as a female, always wanting to be liked, etc., could mean that I could hold on to people too long and thus then damage the brand that had just taken everything to build. So I think that there's so many lessons. I write about it in my book. The book was very much about trying to give soulful, authentic, no bullshit advice to people about my journey and the things that I had learned, but also bringing color, magic, creativity to a world that maybe had been painted as quite a grey world prior. And so it's something I'm quite passionate about.
I love that. And the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
2020, we can't forget that. How was that for you? What was the experience like? What were some of the challenges you experienced in the pandemic?
Well, I came from not on the high street, and I decided that I was going to ditch the heels I found myself in. I was going to ditch the double Spanx I found myself in. I was going to put on the glitter trainers, and I was going to get back to a Holly that I once knew. And so I started a company called Holly & Co. back in 2017. Holly & co-sounding for community, collaboration, all the good CO words that I can never remember in times like this. And actually, it's been amazing. It had been growing. But then when the pandemic hit, I remember I have a shop because I wanted to work the muscle of actually having a physical space and not just representing kitchen table businesses. The call came, please close your shop, which I know a lot of you have felt, and the tears and the panic of literally 24 hours closing down your premises. And I thought, well, if I'm feeling this, what must other people feel? So in 24 hours, we got together and we created a brand called SME SOS. And it meant that I went live. I'd never gone live on Instagram ever in my life before because I feared, like we all do, big fear. And there I was in a big roll neck jumper, never wore that again, and just basically said, I'm going to be here for you every single day. And I think we did a live every day for 4 months. I tried to demystify the news. I tried to bring on guests. I did a tea party in my house, virtually, obviously, on a Friday. And we tried to just basically come together. And I think from what I've heard, it really helped people because a lot of small businesses didn't know whether they should even sell. Is selling appropriate right now? And so we were like, gosh, this isn't going to go on for a couple of months, which sometimes we thought, what if this goes on a year? How can we do this? We need to learn these words, which now we all can roll off our tongue, like pivot, we're so great pivoting, whereas it sounded like something in a game. I don't know what game uses pivot, but, I said pivot about 40,000 times. And so the pandemic for Holly & Co. was really... I felt like I was in the right place at the right time, and it was my calling again. And I think for the small businesses, it's just been unbelievable how much everyone has learnt. For some people, it's been a totally terrible time. For some people, they've had Christmas every day and then felt guilty about it. Some people had to, work a new muscle. But I know that all of us learnt something through it. And that's what we've got to try and hold on to.
I love that. And also, it was the moment you were just like, I'm just going to be the light right now. I'm just going to use everything that I have in me just to be of service to the world. And I think as an entrepreneur, I had a similar situation. March came, I lost all my business, all my corporate bookings out the window. And it was like, if I'm a female entrepreneur and I'm freaking out, there must be other women out there who are also freaking out. How can I do something about it? And so I started running workshops and things like that, and similar to you, right? And then it just kind of all exploded. So it's like, in those moments where everything feels like it's falling apart, I was on my bed with my tears and my popcorn and my wine, right? It's like, okay, how can I still be the light to somebody out there who needs me? And that kind of just energy is so inspiring and so motivating.
Yeah, I think, I don't know about you, but when the proverbial S word hits the fan, that's potentially where we're at our best. I think, someone once asked me about small businesses and whether they were ready for this. And I said, small businesses have to survive every day. A lot of us are life and death every day, whether we can pay ourselves this month or not. Now, actually, a lot of big businesses have never really worked that muscle, hence they were in complete flux. And why potentially small businesses were like, no way, Jose, this is not going anywhere.
Yep.
I'm going to do whatever it takes. And because a lot of our personality and soul is part of our businesses, I always use the analogy, not that my male investors liked it, but hey, I'm right, they were wrong, is that your business is like a child.
Yeah.
And my small business I had Harry, he was real, and I had Not in the High Street, and now I have Holly & Co. One is a teenager going out to these things called gatherings, and then I have two others that don't drink, which is really good. But the point is that is how you feel. You're maternal, you're a lion, and you're going to protect your business. And I think that's why a lot of small businesses really did defy the odds during this time.
Yeah, because failure is just not an option.
Well, it's
right?
no option.
Right?
Being a mother is not an option. You have a bond that you can't break.
Yeah.
And I think that's how a lot of us feel about our businesses.
Yeah, I love that. And it's something we can remember if we ever go through another challenging situation like
absolutely.
this. Hopefully we don't, but if it does happen, then we know we have that inner strength in us to really push through.
Yes.
Amazing. I love you said the CO stands for all the beautiful things CO could be. So let's talk a little bit about community, because I think having a real live space is a great way, and it's going to be an essential ingredient for retail, for people to connect with their community and their customers. And I think co-creation is an amazing way for a brand to live from the heart and to show up as, a passionate, beautiful brand instead of just a business and just a brick and mortar store. So how do you use co-creation in Holly & Co? How do you connect with your customers and community in a real way?
I mean, I don't even know if we're anything without the community. I just, from day one, we have a living wall, we call it, in the shop. And that's changed every month for, someone do the maths, every month for 5 years. Whatever that is, and that's changed. So the whole shop's theme changes every single month, and that's where we highlight a small business. When we look at our Instagram, it is just continuously tagging in the small businesses. When we look at our Facebook group, it's all about the small businesses. My book, I wanted it to be different. Number one, it's color, which was so many arguments, I can't tell you. I was like, how can I represent color to gray and do a gray business book? So it's a color book, but within it, there's 30 pages of an exclusive product collection with people who built a business doing what they love, making a product per chapter. So you can almost buy the merchandise per chapter. And so that, again, so anything that we do, I have to put the community into it for it to even feel like Holly & Co. And I think there's also, especially, I don't know if you will feel it out after the pandemic, whatever I'm meant to say there. there's something about connecting with other people and creating together. There really is just something magical. And I think probably the most successful brands, they evolve. And their evolution is not only internally, you're evolving, but it's also as you evolve, you become more confident, so you can let someone else in and not go, oh my God, they're going to be so much better than me. They might be, but you almost rejoice in that. So I would just say, if you haven't co-created or thought about, there's a shop up the road that's empty. What about hooking up with somebody else and doing it together? It's the most amazing thing. And Sir John Hegarty, who is the founder of BBH Advertising and did the ads, the guy, the sexy lingerie guy, Levi's ad, that, was it Nick Knowles? Was it Nick Knowles? No, that's... Oh, I don't. Okay, I'm very bad with names. It wasn't one of those ones. He said, if you do interesting things will happen to you. And that's just something that has stayed with me, So it's every time someone brings something interesting, even though it might scare me or feel a bit oddball, I always try and say yes to it.
I love that, because you never know what opportunity awaits you, right? And one big theme in your story is you just took the next right step. It was like, this idea came, okay, what's next after this? What's next after this? And I'm sure you had no idea where things were going to land, but you just kept following that next right step and doing what felt right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly the steps, but what I do try and speak about is taking an anchor and throwing it in the direction, the place that you want to get to, and then taking that rope all the way back to where you are and holding on to it. And sometimes you'll veer to the right, you'll veer to the left, but if you hold on to it, at least you're heading to the place that you wanted to head. But you don't have the exact step. Why I don't believe in a business plan. A business plan, unless you want to raise money, and you'll lie in it. No, of course you won't, but anyway. But, the point is that, tomorrow something could happen. Today you could meet someone and your whole life could change. You can't write that in a business plan. But what you can do is plot the course to exactly where you want to sort of be. And that might be your life, your good life. It might be employing your children. It might be moving to Somerset. It might be, I don't know what it is, but almost plotting there, pulling the rope back and holding on and being okay with the diversion, because you're never going to have a linear line to where you want to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say life is more of a roller coaster, not a straight road. We always want it to be in our pink convertibles with the wind blowing in our hair, and it's like, that's entrepreneurship, but actually it's a roller coaster. And the beautiful thing about roller coasters is they don't just stay stuck when you're hanging upside down. They keep moving until they reach the finish line. So even if you're being spun a million times round, you just keep moving, keep following the anchor until you get to where you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think at the end of my podcast, I say, running a business is like a roller coaster. You have your ups and your downs. And I ask my guests about the ups and downs. And the thing is that, don't be on this ride if you want a safe life, and you want a life. But this ride is like no other ride. And it is what I believe, running your own business, doing what you love, I believe is not my obsession in business. I'm not some crazy Dragon's Den person. I'm just saying that I think it's a key to happiness, because you can master you're master of your own destiny. You can be creatively fulfilled. You can meet the people you want to meet. You can bring your family into your work. And that's why I call them good life companies rather than silly SMEs, right? Because we're trying to live a good life.
Yeah, beautiful. And I kind of see it as a power circle where your strengths as an individual and your passions come together, and you're living in alignment with your strengths and your passions, because when you do, you just unlock next levels of energy and freedom and love, and then all of that just like it just turns into something amazing, and before you know it, you're standing out. There's something special about you, and you're living the life that you want and the life that you deserve, rather than something you're just settling with.
Exactly.
Beautiful. So let's move on to your accomplishments. Like, how does it feel to have achieved such amazing things in the pandemic, in the past 10, 15 years? Has it really hit you? Like, how much change?
No, because you're saying that, and I don't even know what you're talking about. So no, and then there was like yawn, whatever, Holly. Yeah, no, but like really, when you're saying that, I don't really I don't really connect with it because I suppose I've decided that I like to be efficient, like all of us do, because we run our own businesses and we're slightly, maybe perfectionism as an issue. So I looked at the future and I said, right, I'm going to retire when I'm 90. So if I'm 90 and I'm 44 now, that means I've got so much time that I've got to get done all the things that need to be get done. And so for me, I feel less like I've achieved and more like I've got a long way to go. And that again sounds like something you might find on a Pinterest sort of quote thing, but it is really true because I'm sort of living now potentially the best life that I feel like I've ever lived. Every single day I'm building a business, which is so exciting. But also I get to do my podcasts. I meet these incredible guests every single week for the last 3 years. So my mind is blown every single week and I'm learning every single week. And so I sort of feel like, and I'm sure all of us agree, there are so many things to be done. Why aren't women, building businesses as the rate of men? Why are our children not being taught entrepreneurship at school? And why are the creative sides of life being dulled? How are we going to save the independent high street? And how are we not going to have clone towns all over the country? And also, how can we help people realize that we've got 29,000 days on this planet and we need to be doing what we love and loving what we do every single day? So they seem like 4 pretty big things on the to-do list. So I need about 40 years to get those done. So I do agree. My life has been, blessed. I've worked incredibly hard. My son, I didn't mess him up. He was 3 months old. He's 17 now. Please let it be okay. But, I still feel like I've got much more to do.
Yeah, but still kind of embracing the mini successes in everyday life.
Absolutely. Many day successes that I get to walk downstairs and meet people who know me and I get to talk to them. And, my every day, I live in a world of gratitude.
Yes.
Every single day is never wasted on me. Right now, I feel so blessed to be looking at, and some of you are nodding and I'm thinking, oh, thank God, I'm saying something that might resonate with someone. But every single day I'm with my team. I really try and live within gratitude every single moment because we never know what's around the corner. I think this whole period of time has taught us that. And I love building business, doing good. I love helping people.
Amazing. Speaking of building business, doing good things, your book.
Yes.
Do what you love, love what you do.
Well, you can't really see it. We haven't branded it at all up over there. It's very, very discreet over there.
I love that it's in color because it's just like, yes, we're all about putting color into the gray. So we're not going to write a business book that's gray, right? And just being your true, authentic self is really important. How was the process writing the book? How did you find it?
Well, as a dyslexic, it was pretty hard because firstly, how can Penguin have given me a publishing deal? But it was a real passion of mine. It happened to coincide exactly with SME SOS. So I was working 14-hour days, but I was getting up at, my writing was between 6 and 7 a.m. every single day. And so that was not necessarily all the dream I had to writing. I really had this, when you hear about writers, they go off to their place, they've got their white company candle on or something, and they're like writing away. I was just not that person. I'm writing a book, shut the door. So it was an amazing sort of experience, but I'm very happy it is done. I did it in micro chapters because us women are very, very, very busy. So just while you're, cooking or you're doing something or packing an order, you can literally read a micro chapter. You can buy some merch because I thought maybe I should do a shopping experience during writing as well. And it was a wonderful experience. And it became a Sunday Times bestseller, which freaked me out that that actually happened. But it's been received so well that if you go to Do What You Love Book as a hashtag, you can see the book everywhere. And it really has inspired people. Just today, we got DM'd that someone had been suffering from anorexia for 4 years, and that reading the book has helped her decide that she is going to get help and become healthy, and that she's going to quit her job and she's going to start up her own business. And that was just 7 o'clock this morning. Wow. And so, what can I say? that's everything to me. So so if I can, I hope to be writing more books.
Yes.
Fingers crossed. And that's what I would like to do. Bring a lot of different subjects. Bring colour to grey. Change our bookshelf. Even though our bookshelves, I'm sure, are all beautifully in colour order or something like that. But I'd like to add to it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. And it's just, you never know the impact your life can have on someone. So, you owe it to yourself to live your truest, most authentic life, because someone's going to see that and someone's going to be inspired by that. And also, I think as entrepreneurs, sometimes we maybe want to dim our light a little bit because we're like, oh, we don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable, or if they see me killing it in my business, they might feel a type of way. But actually, you're more likely to inspire people when you show up and live the life that you love than you are shrinking yourself and making other people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So if you have a light bulb and another woman is kind of in the shadows, give her a light bulb and let's all shine our lights together, right?
Yeah,
and
totally.
passionately.
Totally.
Fabulous. So we're going to have book signings a little bit later, but we have some questions from the community.
Brilliant.
And if you're in the audience and you hear your question, give us a little wave so we know you're here. And then we'll see how that goes, and then maybe pop into the audience for if anyone still has any questions.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Do ask away if you do.
Amazing. So let's start off with challenges around retail and the future of retail. So Emma asks, what do you see as the greatest challenges for our small independent retailers in 2021?
I think just getting out there. I think a lot of us rely on Instagram a lot, and then the chatter is the algorithm, and then do you know what I mean? And I think actually one of the keys for all of us is to think how we can be multi-hyphenated. How can we not be just relying on social media? Can we get ourselves out into a physical space? I've seen so much success in pop-ups. I've seen so much, people collaborating and doing brand collaborations and things. So I think it's all about, isn't it, emerging with strength and emerging like a peacock. And so I think that now is the time to try and maybe potentially do things that maybe you've never thought about doing before, and keep taking risks. Almost, that feeling when we went into lockdown and we were all going, oh my God, what am I going to do? And it's like, I would do anything. We've got to keep that feeling alive.
I love the idea of taking risks because, risks rewards.
Yes.
You never know what it's going to unlock when you take that
absolutely.
risk. And what trends are you kind of seeing in the indie entrepreneurship area? Retail area?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of communities being built. I don't know. Again, it goes back to purpose. I do believe that the consumers of the future and the consumers of today, but it's only going to grow, are conscious consumers. That's it. Whether you have them now or not, they're coming. And so actually they will quit their bank and go to another bank if they believe that bank is a better, more ethical bank. And that's what's going to happen in everything. So if you haven't looked up B Corp, becoming a B Corporation, Holly & Co., we've been on it for a year and a half. We hopefully will get our certification in the next few months. Think about your purpose. Think about what it is outside of yourself that you are doing to make a difference. Because actually being good is good for business. It's not just something you can ignore anymore.
So community, sustainability, taking risks, getting out there, really trying to build community and connect with your community in new ways.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So moving into sustainability now, actually. Tom asks, do you think it's important as a British brand to solely manufacture in the UK, or does it depend on the product or category?
I mean, I just think, again, we should try and make things at home first. But then at the same time, if you literally can't and it is uncompetitive then it's all about about, isn't it, where you source your products from. And I think that that's the journey. You know, lots of people that I talk to are unable to manufacture in the UK for really legitimate reasons. But what they are doing is manufacturing in an ethical way, in a way that is sustainable. And actually, they shy away from saying it because they think, oh, people are going to judge me. And I'm like, you know what? We can't be perfect instantly. And if we all try to be perfect instantly, we're not going to progress. So I say, you know, absolutely, we should try and manufacture here. We should try and get together with our co-founders and actually say, oh my gosh, you're making this, I'm making this, you're making this. Is there any way that we could club together and help manufacture here in the UK? So that's my sort of point of view on that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then Victoria asks, as a publisher, I'm constantly introducing newness. Do we need to be putting out new products monthly, seasonally, continuously? Because if we're talking about sustainability and not just kind of fast fashion and fast retail, but then also being able to meet our consumers' needs, where's the balance in that?
Well, it's a hard question, isn't it? Because if you're in fashion or if you're on greetings cards, that's a very different sort of question. I would say that the whole point with social media nowadays, you don't have to, do you, make tons of things to just launch a product on your Instagram. You can make one and you can see what the demand is. I think also I love this idea of maybe slow creation. So actually launching something and asking your community, would you like to buy this? Okay, cool. I've launched it on the site. I need, you know, how many orders am I going to get? And then I make the product. And I'm seeing that more and more where actually I'm trying to be good to the planet. I'm trying to not have waste. Will you join me in? And it's all about communication in your newsletters, in your Instagram, in your social media, about actually how to help people allow you to be that business, because it's a tough one.
I've seen that happening a lot, and I think people are way more welcoming of that, you know, and also it's a great way to co-create with your audience, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So, you get them so engaged.
Exactly.
I know so many chocolate companies, you know, they say, this is what we're going to release, or they do those drops, don't they? You know, this is what we're going to release, and then it just goes because they have already built up the frenzy for the chocolate. But I mean, that's because it's chocolate, isn't it? Because you just have a frenzy anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So Black Friday is coming up.
Yes.
And Annie asked, do you take part in Black Friday sales, and what are your thoughts on this? Because, it's becoming an occasion where it's like, everyone just goes a bit mad and is obsessive around it, and it's like, are we losing our morals a little bit in this?
Yeah, well, I don't agree with Black Friday, never have, although not on the high street participated in it, and I know for so many small businesses it's a huge part of what you do. So there is the problem, isn't it? You know, how do you ease it out when the consumer has been taught this? And also it's not Black Friday anymore, is it? It's the week before, the week after. It's
Cyber
actually
Monday.
The whole of like half of Christmas is almost in this discount mode. And I don't know what to do about it. It's something I feel pretty passionate about. I think that maybe the plasma screen TV rush, will it go? You know, those awful pictures that you do see. I think it might. I'm wondering if we all need to come together and sort of cold turkey it. You know, could that be a really cool movement to be part of? Because I just think we've got to get the consumer out of the habit. Maybe there's a great sale, but we had January sales. That was the whole point of it. But for me, I've seen the impact negatively on small businesses and the discount mentality that people might wait for the discount, and actually you have no margin to give the discount in the first place. So it is a real issue.
I think as a brand, if you've built a really strong connection with your customers and your community and they love you, whether there's a discount or not, they will most likely still buy from you.
Absolutely,
so I think we can kind of be a bit more confident with that.
Yes, absolutely.
Fabulous. Okay, so let's move into personal brand, right? Because on your Instagram page, it's very much you, very colorful, and your businesses as well. It's kind of like an extension of who you are. A lot of people struggle with building a personal brand and also having their business and as an extension of themselves. So Jules is asking, should I mix personal and business? I'm never sure.
Well, it's all how comfortable you are. It took 2 years for them to persuade me we should be called Holly & Co. because, like, I just couldn't stand that it was called Holly. And I always talk about Holly as the third party. I was like, oh, if Holly did it, you know what she's like. But the point is I think that the future is about founders. You know, I think if we're going to talk about emotional connection with your brand, a brand, you need a figurehead. You know, I was just talking to a couple of corporates yesterday, and it was so interesting. They were launching something, but I was like, so who's launching it? You know, how are you launching it? And it's almost like I find it odd now, well, with a TV commercial, with, you know, you're like, what's the person that's going to talk passionately about it? And so I think that that's the interesting point. I think founders are never better, and there's never better time to be a founder than today. And I do think that putting yourself forward is a really interesting thing to customers. You think it's not interesting because it's you. I certainly think that every single day. But the point is that people can rely on me. They can rely on me to be authentic. They can get to know my brand. They'll know I'll never lie to them. I will only do good for them because I believe in them. So I don't know how I would do that all without putting myself out there.
Yeah.
So, and I think there's other ways, you know, if you go on to Holly Tucker, my Instagram, you go to our IGTV lives, I did one all about this. It's all about your personal brand. And actually there's some really good tips there on if you're not happy being the face, there's lots of other ways of still being at the forefront. So you might be able to check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a confidence coach and I work with entrepreneurs on building their confidence. And I always say people need to see you, know you, and hear you to trust you. And as a business, trust is the most important thing you can have with your community. And I love that you said, even if you don't feel 100% comfortable putting your face out there, find other ways to bring your soul and your energy into the business.
Yes, absolutely.
And also your personal brand is really just an exchange of like energy and enthusiasm, right? You have something special to give to the world and someone out there needs what you have. And if you don't bring your personal brand to the forefront, somebody who needs your product isn't going to find out because you're hiding behind the camera, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. And then, yes, energy, right? Because you're running a business, you're taking care of kids, you're trying to sort out your life. How do you find the energy to still show up on social media and be there for people and be happy and be excited? Where does that energy come from?
I think in all truth, the energy comes from exactly doing those things. So I'm actually, I tried to have a quiet August. I tried to create a really a brilliant viral hashtag, which really wasn't. Hashtag volume down August. It didn't catch on. Anyway, I did it and it was an absolute blinking nightmare because I actually realized that it was good. It was good. But I would say that I lost my mojo. I lost my energy. I realized I needed to have that time. It had been a very busy 18 months, but actually my energy was coming from what I was doing and the community that I had built. And now I'm alive again. It's been a week and I'm just so straight back to where it was. So I would say that my energy comes from doing what I love, and any day that I'm not, I call it. So I'm too long in a game now to sort of sit through meetings where PowerPoint presentations happen. I'll just say, right, we're never doing presentations like this ever again. I'm never sitting through a long meeting again. And sort of, do you know what I mean? Having the confidence to say, we're building a new way of doing business here, and one that means that every meeting I'm happy in, every day, I'm, all these sorts of things. So I think my energy comes from doing what I love, and the community giving me their everything. Like that message this morning gave me energy to keep going.
Amazing. I love that. Okay, I'm getting into some of the final questions, and then we're going to move to the audience. Oh, yes, customer relationships. Okay, so Margot asks, what are your tips for ways on how independent brands can inspire brand loyalty? And Emma also asks, how do you stay ahead of what your community needs and wants from you?
Okay, so David Hyatt, you know the Do books? He was a podcast guest a couple of weeks ago, and he said the only thing that matters for small businesses is to tell their story. And even if you're bored with it, keep telling it. And he spoke about how he still tells his story every single day. He tells his story because that is what we as humans are built off. We're built off storytelling. And actually, for small businesses, I find it surprising how we think telling our stories is the About Us page on our website. Actually, that's not your story. Your story is your blog, your newsletter, your social media. It is the pop-up that you do. It's the press articles that you get. There is it's a really big pea soup of things, but you've got to get your story out there. You've also got to be the person that people remember. You know what I mean? Like, I'm Holly Hurricane, for instance. What is your thing? What are people going to remind you of? Remind themselves of that it is you. And what was the second part of that question?
How do you stay one step ahead of what your community needs?
Yeah, and staying one step ahead is purely asking. I mean, how unbelievable is it that we now have things like SurveyMonkey or all the Instagram features or all those things? You don't need to stay ahead. You just need to ask. And that's another thing I don't think we're very good at. We sort of always forget that we can ask. You're like, oh yeah, I don't have to do the hard work. I can actually put out new product innovation, see what people think. I can ask questions, do surveys. And so, you do need to be one step ahead, but you can actually ask people what they feel.
Yeah, I read in an article that people need to see your brand 7 times before they buy from you.
Yeah.
And as entrepreneurs, we're like, oh, I'm so over my story. It's so boring. But no, we've got to keep telling that story.
We live by it at Holly & Co. 7 times for everything. So you're like, no, I can't say it again. And my someone at work, Natalie, she'll go, we're only on time 5. And I'm like, but they're going to kill me. It's like 7 times, Holly, 7 times. So you've got to remember 7 times, right? You've got to say something. It's not one post. It's not one newsletter. It's 7 times. Okay, so do live by the rule of 7, and it does actually work out.
Amazing. So when next you're on time 4 and you're like, I'm so over this, remember this conversation 7 times, you can do it. And just a little bit about your personal and career journey. So Joe wants to know, what's one piece of career advice you would have given yourself 10 years ago?
Well, again, Pinterest and their little, quote things have done all quotes out of a job. But certainly for me, every time everything went wrong was when I didn't trust my gut. I was so consumed with the imposter syndrome. I was so consumed that I was going to be found out that I would listen to the Backstreet Boys, not really, backseat drivers, and I would listen to people and assume that they had to know better than me. And every time I did that, I put my business in jeopardy. I put my mental health in jeopardy. And I've now coined it, I write a whole chapter about it in the book. It is my compass, and I now live by it. We were built with a gut instinct for a complete reason. And it's how we used to live. And now, certainly with all these phrases like imposter syndrome, we sort of get to the point where we just hand over our destiny to somebody else. And I would say go back to it, go back to your compass, go back to that guiding principle, that voice. And so far, if I get it right, it's normally because I've listened to it.
And what is that guiding principle for you that kind of pulls you back?
It is to do things differently, raise the roof. I'm not interested in sort of tiptoeing along. Is it exciting? Is it creative? Is it going to help people fundamentally? Am I going to be happy? Is my team going to be happy? And will I live in joy? And not enjoy, but live in joy. And I think that that's something we all got to remember. I realize realised I had 29,000 days on the planet when I was 40, and worked out that I'd only got 14,000 days left. And then you realise, tomorrow, we don't get today back. And so that is very, rather than depressing, that's very empowering to me, because it means that we've got to move today. You've got to make those decisions, stop procrastinating. And so that also gives me energy.
Yeah, so nice. And you have been such a big inspiration to everyone here and to so many small businesses out there. But who do you ask for help? Do you have a coach? Do you have a mentor? Rachel's asking, who do you go to? How do you ask for help? Who do you get support from?
I've actually believed that mentors, do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are very, very busy. And I also think that there's slightly a myth in a mentor being the silver bullet for your business. A question would be, have you read every single book in your genre about what you do? Have you listened to every single podcast that's out there? Have you read every article? Have you gone and spoken to the experts in your area and gone to speak to the new people in your area? Because in a way, no mentor will have the answer for you. And in a way, you've got to get the war scars. You've actually got to go and do it. You've got to fall over and you've got to pick yourself up. And that's how I've learned. So I've never had a mentor. I've had people in my life that have been there, because the universe does answer, so they will be just there for me to ask the question. But I do believe in our own path is the only way. And I do also think that we can miss the fact that there is so much information out there if we go and listen to it or read it. But there's no one that's ever going to answer your questions like you will. There is no silver bullet, but your journey is going to be probably the best mentor for you that you can have.
Yeah, school of life.
Yes, absolutely.
And I like the idea of learning, realizing that you might not have it all right now, but the resources are out there for you to acquire the skills that you need. And you don't have to wait for someone to tell you what to do or wait for someone to give you the skills. You can actually go out there and learn and practice and level up, really.
Absolutely, completely.
Amazing. Yeah, last question from me. So what's next for Holly & Co? I know you called yourself Hurricane Holly, you're always going, the future, 14,000 days left. So what are we doing with
Even less. I'm 44 now, but I haven't worked that bit out. It might be depressing. We have amazing, last year we started the Independent Awards. So if you want to enter, we're going to be releasing the nominations in October. It's the only awards that are independently owned by ourselves. We give away £100,000 every single year. We hope to have the Congregation of Inspiration back next March. We only hold these events in churches. I hope to be writing more. I hope to be on other things more. And we're also going to be launching campaign Shop Independent, which will be in its 5th year this Christmas, which when I go, all out, and we did one on summer, and I had a Technicolor Cliff Richard type bus that I went up and down the country and tried to meet over 100 businesses in 5 days. And so if you can join me, that would be amazing. Follow me at Holly Tucker and just join the community and join what we're trying to do. That would be fantastic. But, we're not stopping, and we're going to try and help those 4 things that I mentioned earlier. So, do keep in contact with us, because, the job's not done yet.
Absolutely not. And you are a force to be reckoned with.
Well, bless you. Thank you.
We all
Thank
need
you
to
for
get
the
on
lovely
board.
interview.
Oh, no, my pleasure. So we're going to go over to the audience. Abigail's got a mic at the back. Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask? Over there.
Right, actually, it's not quite a question, Holly. It's a thank you, because we were listening right from the very start when we went into the pandemic. So every Friday afternoon we did have afternoon tea with you, and literally you did keep us going. So
thank you
very much.
Thank you very much. I'm a crier then, so I won't cry.
Oh, beautiful. Anybody else? Over here.
I'm another fangirl over here. I was like, oh my God, it's Holly over there. We're just saying we've listened to you like the whole way through and you've kept us going.
Oh, I'm so pleased.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm so pleased. It was literally my honour, and it felt like I was in the right place to help people. And you know what? I think I did cheerlead it for sure, but it was everyone joining in that made it special, didn't it? It was everyone saying, okay, well, you know, tag me later, or, you know, get in contact with me later and I'll help you. So it's kind of you to say that, but I think it was all of us, wasn't it, together? We got through it somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
As like a small business, like what would be your way of like giving confidence when you're wanting to invest in something? Like for instance, doing top drawer, like something that's going to cost quite a lot. Like yeah.
Again, you know, don't be scared in asking people, right? So you've got a lot of people around you, so your community. You could say, listen, I'm in year 2. This is what I'm turning over. Don't tell anyone. Do you think I should do it? And then you could ask, that's your work community, your fellow founders. And then you could ask your customers, you know, hey, I'm thinking, like, so the other day I just said, I'm thinking of doing the Congregation of Inspiration. Would you come? Because, you know, if we had 0 replies, I would be like, guys, I think we might like it more than anyone else. But that's what you should do. You should definitely put yourself out there. I think one of our issues is that we're never vulnerable enough. You know, actually, this community is the most beautiful community. And certainly I would just, you know, ask that question. And I think you'll be surprised with what you hear.
Oh, all kicking off now.
Hi, Holly. I've come down from Scotland to see you, so I was just wondering if you were coming up at any point.
Oh my goodness, I love it. I last came up, didn't I, to Edinburgh and did my campaign independent, and I absolutely want to come back up. We're doing, we're planning our new campaign tour for next summer, so I really, really hope to travel that way. Maybe not on the beaten old bus that we had, because I don't think it will get me there. But yeah, I really, really hope to. It's thank you very much for coming, and I love what you're wearing. Just embarrassed you. Yeah, sorry.
Hi, Holly.
Hello.
You talked at the beginning about switching from vegetable wreaths to outdoor markets. What was it that made you realise that you'd done everything you could and that business idea was ready to be put to one side because there was something bigger and better? How did you kind of have that sense, this is done, it's time to go to the next thing? Yeah,
we call it letting go with love. Because, you know, we're very, very, you know, we don't like to, A, sometimes be wrong. B, we've put a lot of our energy in. And so when do you let go? And I also think you've got to trust that gut. So I think it was my gut. I think it was also, you know, it didn't, I realized that it wasn't taking off like wildfire. I realized that, you know, really, is this my calling? Wreaths, really, is it? And then I looked around me and I put my head up and I saw all incredible humans interacting, and my gut was saying, well, that's where I should be. And I listened to it, and I suppose I've never really been asked that question, so I think it must have been my gut saying, my world is not here. And so I went on to that, and then again, my gut was telling me, my journey is not over here. Even though I've got a 3-month-old and no money at all, you know, I've got to do this because I'm onto something. And I think that little inner voice is one of the things that we shouldn't ignore. I think probably those inner voices, when you listen to my podcast, are probably the genius in everybody, because they actually listen to the inner voice. So I think that is, you know, if there was a right answer, I think that might have been my right answer. I don't know.
Thank you. Thanks, Holly. How easy did you find it to let people into your business to help? So I've been going for about 8 years and I just work non-stop. I really need to employ someone, but I'm petrified
of
losing any I'm so protective of my business.
Yeah, you know what? You will wish that you would have done it years and years and years ago. You know, there's a thing that when you get that long on, like 8 years into it, now you can do it with your eyes shut, all these sorts of things. You know exactly how you want to talk to that customer. You know exactly what you want to buy, all those sorts of things. But there is a point that maybe unless you change what you're doing, it will not change. So, you know, and there's a time where we also have to be kinder to ourselves. You know, 8 years to be doing it is a long, long time. I absolutely believe that growing a team is the single most thing I'm proud of in all of it. So I wouldn't want you not to have that experience. And I actually write about it in the book, about the first steps in employing people, feeling like you're letting go. They're not going to do it well enough, or all those sorts of things. And I would just say potentially for you to grow your business, you need to grow your team, your capacity. You need to probably have more time to be creative yourself in order to think about the future. But you can't because you're doing the packing. Yeah, you see, I've had this conversation before. And I promise you, think about what the worst thing that can happen. Yeah, you need to tell them you're not right and you need to go. Make friends with it. And then move on and do it. Do you know what I mean? Just make friends with the fact that that's the worst that can happen, is the awkward conversation. Don't give them your account details, but you know.
Thank you.
That's so true. And the beauty of all the good things that could happen, right? What if you could 10x your business? What if you could have so much abundance? What if you can change your team's life? Like, there's so much amazing possibility from having a team than the awkward conversation of just saying to someone, okay, it's really not working, you have to go. So yeah. So when you hire that person, come back and tell us.
Yes.
We're holding you accountable. Amazing. Thank you so much, Holly, for your authenticity, your vulnerability, the inspiration.